Well, it is once again time to check in on weather with Nebraska Extension Ag Climatologist and Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Eric Hunt. Eric, what's on your mind and what's in the forecast as we near the end of the year?
Well, thanks, Bryce. We've had a mild December so far. That will continue for next week. I am watching a possible storm that might be moving into our part of the country right around Christmas. More of that in a little bit. In terms of the week ahead, I think we will have a cold front moving through the state later in the day on Sunday. That should bring us more seasonal temperatures on Monday with highs mostly in the 30s and 40s. Again, nothing significantly cold, but probably a bit colder than what we have been having. As we move into the middle, a later portion of next week will be dominated by upper level ridging, as is shown in both the European and GFS models. Thanks to Eric Snodgrass and Nutrien for these figures. This will lead to mild and dry conditions for most of next week. Again, I don't think we're talking about record warmth, but generally speaking, highs in the 40s to maybe low to mid 50s as we head from Wednesday into Friday. And I think this should lead to very good holiday travel weather as we head into the later portion next week. What I am watching, though, is the potential for a storm system that should be entering the western U.S. by the end of next week. It might be swinging into our area by Christmas Day. The CPC right now currently is showing a decent projection of above average precipitation across pretty much the entire state and a lot of the western U.S. as we move into the week of Christmas. Again, this is still a ways out, but I think it's something worth watching. Current indications are this would be mostly a rain event for most of the state, except for portions of north central Nebraska and northwestern Nebraska. But again, any shift in that track or any additional cold air or anything really dynamic would lead to potential for some snow. So there is a very outside shot that there could be a white Christmas for some of the state this year, even with our relatively mild conditions. Again, the CPC is very bullish on basically the entire U.S. being warm for the week of Christmas, in particular the north central U.S. Again, I think those would be more on the front-loaded side before Christmas as opposed to after. But again, I don't think we're looking at any real significant cold intrusions before the first of the year. Moving update, we did see some introduction of abnormal dryness into parts of southwestern Nebraska, in particular Frontier, Hitchcock, and Red Willow counties. It's been quite dry down there for most of the fall, and the authors did introduce some abnormal dryness. But in general, we are in much better shape than we were a year ago. One of the reasons that we've seen the drought is, again, precipitation deficits. So going back 4 years, we actually have 20-plus inch deficits over a very large section of the central U.S., and in parts of eastern Nebraska and western Iowa, those deficits are in excess of 30 inches. It's a bit more of the exception than the rule, but we are seeing some parts of the state that over a 4-year period have basically had a deficit of 1 year's worth of precipitation. So again, very significant stuff going back to about the first part of 2020. In terms of more recent precipitation, we have seen some precipitation in southwestern Nebraska. This is good news. So this was not reflected in the latest drought monitor, and I don't know this is enough to move the needle, but again, this is good news for a place that hasn't seen much moisture in the last couple of months. Most of the rest of the state has been very dry the last 7 days, as has been the case for most of the month so far. Soil temperatures right now, generally speaking, across the state are in the low to mid 30s, which is where they have been for most of the month of December. We have yet to see any prolonged freezing of the soil to this point. Soil moisture is kind of where it has been, driest in terms of percentiles where you expect compared to normal, mostly in southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Nebraska, north central Nebraska is in much better shape. And in terms of current U.S. snow cover, the extended snow cover in the U.S. right now is the lowest it's been at this time of year since 2006, with the decent snowpack in parts of Rockies, but most places right now, no real snow cover. Thanks. Back to you, Bryce.